Ladies and gentlemen, this is Dustin Perry from Ghost Hunters and Ghost Hunters International, and you are tuned into the Paranormally Zone.
Look, I know the supernatural is something that isn't supposed to happen. It does happen.
A ghostly apparition in the dark of night.
Human sacrifice, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria.
Hey there, ponderers of the paranormal. You are in the Paranormally Zone, your place for all things paranormal, unexplained, odd, and mysterious. My name is Patrick Koffenberg. I am responsible for this, podcast, these shenanigans.
If you want to admit to that, that's fine.
I will. I will admit to it. I'm happy to do so. And I'm joined, as always, you heard them already, boys and girls. I'm joined, as always, by my co-host with the ghosts, I wrote you down today, Mike, as the sleep-deprived Mike Carbno. This could make for either an awful episode or a terrific episode.
Well, we have already learned in our preamble before starting the recording that it could be quite a witty one coming from my end.
Well, witty or shitty, I'm not sure. So we
yeah, I didn't sleep at all last night. I tossed and turned.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, Mike's back is still. You need to basically have your entire spine removed.
Yeah, and then of course my legs and my one foot that is all swelled up and edemaed, and just the pain excruciating.
Yeah.
So I tried to. I got up and I hobbled and caned myself to the couch.
Wait a minute, you caned yourself?
Well, so to speak. I used my cane that I've been definitely having to use.
I was going to say, that's like an awful, that's like torture.
I beat myself.
Golly, Miss Molly, Mike. All right.
But yeah, sitting on the couch didn't do anything either, or relaxing, reclining or whatever.
Did you say noodle axing? Why did I hear?
No.
I heard noodle axing.
It sounds like fun, whatever it might be.
My headphones totally just farted out on me there, and I swear to God, you said I was noodle axing.
Yeah.
I gotta write that down.
I'd like to figure out what that means.
Let's see what noodle axing means.
But yes, all day yesterday, all last night, and all day today, I have been awake.
That sucks.
The pain has subsided somewhat in my foot and leg. But everything else is the same. But
Mike,
enough of that.
You have lived a very haunted life, a paranormal life, I should say. Haunted has almost kind of a negative connotation to it sometimes. But you're always constantly surrounded by spirits, as longtime listeners know. Ding, ding, ding. New listeners, welcome. Don't turn the dial quite yet. Give us a chance. Give us at least a couple minutes. But Mike has lived a very paranormal life, and I was going to ask you, you need to get some ghosts of former physical therapists or something,
sure,
who can hang out with you, and
I think I need the
walk you through the nights and just any little thing would help. Would you not think?
I could probably actually use the ghost of Sigmund Freud.
Who's Sigmund Freud? I don't know who Sigmund Freud is, but
I'll try to put a little accent on it, but it didn't work.
Yeah, no, failed miserably. So,
but it's all just relative to just the way it is. I mean, I go in on the 4th, I'm getting a shot into my spine.
Ugh.
I'll see if that works. It hasn't helped previous shots, but maybe this one might help. So, and I'm sure the listeners are getting tired of hearing about my ailment.
Well, it's a little bit more than an ailment, but hey, man, we're Well, we're all sending you best wishes, Mike. As always, you need to recover, man. You need to get better because you got a long life left to live, my friend. So
Yeah, it doesn't matter that my next birthday I will be 60 freaking years old.
Matters not. It matters not.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
You got to stay alive for at least another week because I'm heading over there to visit you and Mary. So.
That's right. Hey, yes, we should mention that.
Yeah,
the next weekend you will be here.
I will be here, and we are going to be, filming some exclusive Patreon content.
Absolutely.
Oh man, I'll just say it right away. Mike purchased. He purchased what he thought was a vintage. I'll let you tell the tale.
I've been toying with the idea for how many months now? About
several.
Purchasing a Ouija board. So, and I've always looked at them on Amazon, and they always advertise this vintage 1970 Ouija board.
Ouija.
Mm-hmm. And I thought, wow, that's just like the one that we had when I was a kid. So, I just started, Mary and I have been just Amazoning the hell out of Amazon this last week, getting all kinds of stuff that we need. And, me getting some more Funko Pops and all this stuff for my collection.
Yeah, because, hey, like you said, stuff you need.
Yeah. And so I just threw the Ouija out in the mix of orders without mentioning it to Mary.
I was just going to ask that, because was she aware of this? Because if I'm not going to assume anything. How does Mary feel about having a Ouija board in your house, and one that we are going to use exclusively for, the first time we use it exclusively for our Patreon page. Right. Go join us, boys and girls. There's a little $1 a month, exclusive content, both video and audio, ghost hunting, all sorts of good stuff, exclusive episodes. Give us a shot for the price of a terrible cup of coffee. You can listen to a lot of awesome podcast content. So give us a shot. Anyways,
terrible cup of coffee and a stale Danish.
Yeah, at least, right? So, but anyway, she's okay. She's okay with it.
No, well, she wasn't. When I first started talking about getting one, she was like, no. She has a Catholic upbringing, as do you.
As do I.
And she just doesn't like the idea of the Ouija board, but she realizes how much it means to me to have one, especially this so-called vintage one that I purchased.
Yes, clarify. Yeah,
I will clarify that.
Yeah, let's backtrack there. So let's clarify what you actually did purchase.
They said it was a vintage 1970 Ouija board, and when I got it, I looked at it and I looked at the copyright dates on it, and it showed that this is the style that started in 1970, but this version, which is exactly the same as a 1970, but it was actually from 1992.
It was like a replica, sort of. Right?
Yeah. Well, it's like, it was just that style that was still used in 1992. That that was started in 1970.
Still, when you think about it, 92 though, that's 30 years ago still. So,
oh sure, yeah.
Oh sure, yeah.
But it's still kind of vintage, but and it's still really awesome.
It looks
like it. It's
fantastic.
In mint condition.
Yeah, it looks fantastic. You sent me pictures of it, and it was
mint condition. It's it's fantastic. But when Mary said, "Well, let's go through our orders and kind of track them and see what's coming. How far along some of them are and things like that." And so I was kind of whipping through these things, and she goes, "Wait, what's that?"
And you're like, "No, you don't care. You don't want to know. You don't need to know." Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh, that's the Ouija board that I ordered." And she said, and right away said, "Well, that's okay. I know you wanted one, but as long as you don't use it."
Oh no. Well.
And then I said, "Well, Patrick's coming next weekend, and we kind of had that plan for, for some Patreon and stuff like that." And she goes, "Oh, okay."
Oh wow, really?
So she's totally cool with it. I mean.
So we're going to be setting it up. You have to have a place to set it up. Or I'm imagining It'll be in your kitchen area, maybe. Is that the only spot we could set it up and use it?
Um,
And we won't talk about it for very long because listeners have no idea what the hell we're talking about. But I'm just curious if you have a plan of attack.
I do.
Okay. All right, cool. We'll figure it
Yeah,
out. It'll be cool.
it'll work out great.
I'm looking forward to filming it, man, and seeing, who the hell knows what's going to happen. I've always been skeptical about Ouija boards, but I've also been terrified of them because, like you said, of my Catholic upbringing. I'm just like, what are we bringing? What are we opening up here? So I'm borderline. I'm very excited, but I'm also leery. So that should that'll make for good Patreon content at least. So
Absolutely.
I'm sacrificing my comfort.
You are, and
my
and looking
psychological
forward to it.
well-being. So it'll be cool. And I told Bridget about this too. My lovely fiance Bridget, and she said the same thing. She's like, you of all people are going to be using this thing. I'm like, hey, I'm willing to do whatever it takes for our awesome Patreon listeners / subscribers / friends. So.
Do you still have like your altar boy vestments or anything like that, or garb that you could bring and wear it for protection?
No, we weren't. As an altar boy, you were not allowed to keep that stuff. It was property of the church, and so no, I didn't run off with my altar boy robe or anything like that. I didn't steal any pieces of pale bread / the body of Christ or wine or anything like that. So.
You didn't have a special hat or anything.
No, I didn't. No special hats. No, nothing else. Nothing too out of the ordinary. But I didn't bring home the dingy bell that I got the ring. While sitting up on the altar. So
I did have fun texting you about it because when we were talking about messing around with the Ouija board, I started sending you gifts of
I got
The
him.
Exorcist.
I got him. Yeah, I'm like, no, Mike, that's enough now. That's enough.
And then I had that one demon looking guy that was kind of dancing.
Yeah.
And then I put a caption on there that said, "Come on, Patrick, let's play."
Yeah, that was just creepy. That was. Well, what really started getting in a little bit. Well, it was unnecessary in the first place when you sent me that demon gif, but a day or two later, I sent you a text saying, like, you know what? Let's finally utilize this new night vision camera that we bought.
Yes.
Let's set the atmosphere. Let's turn the lights off. Let's film it with the night camera vision while we're doing this Ouija board session. And you said, yeah, we'll light some candles and really set the tone. And I write back and said, well, let's not get romantic now, Mike. I mean, come on.
Well, that the ambience of the glow of a candle, and we could light some incense.
There you go. Okay.
Really bring you back to your Catholic days.
Oh boy.
We could put it in some kind of a gold ball with holes in it, and you can swing it back and forth, and it'll be fun.
Okay, moving on.
And musky.
Stay tuned for that, everybody. We're looking forward to it. And speaking of Patreon, we are going to be recording our first exclusive Patreon episode of 2022 to add on to our just a load of content we have over there already. So we're going to be recording that immediately after this podcast. So let's get started, Mike. We're 12 minutes into it, and we haven't said a damn thing about the topic. So
that's right.
That's our bad.
Let's hit it.
Fascinating topic, and I am going to say right now, I'm going to admit it, that I was ignorant towards this occurrence, and I am ashamed of myself that I was not familiar with this.
It's an awesome topic.
You had sent me, we were bantering back and forth, text messaging. We're trying to figure out, ideas for the topic, and you threw out this one, and I'm like, wow, I don't think I'm familiar with that, and if I had known about it, I completely forgot about it.
And it's crazy over the years that we haven't talked about this before and have done an episode on it.
I agree. It's one of several, believe it or not, similar incidents. We're just going to focus on this particular one. We're talking about the 1994 schoolyard mass UFO sighting that took place in Zuwa, Zimbabwe. And it is fascinating. I cannot believe it didn't ring a bell when you texted me that, Mike. But it's, without any further ado, let's do it, because it is definitely worth, at the very least, a podcast topic for the Paranormal Zone.
Well, absolutely.
Now,
And the thing about this is it's not some rinky-dink story. I mean, it was actually 62 students at this aerial school, aged between 6 and 12 at the time, that
Mhm.
witnessed this, and they did drawings of it, and they were freaked out when they went back into school from their recess that they're on when they saw this, because it landed right by their schoolyard. And
Yeah,
the
like in a
teachers,
field right next to the schoolyard.
right, and the teachers, they just told them to be quiet and just don't, they didn't want to hear about it because they didn't believe it. But then the next day, the teachers were getting phone calls. The school was getting phone calls from parents asking what happened, why are our children freaked out so much and
Why are they traumatized like this?
and
Essentially?
traumatized.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, do you have recollections of this making the news, Mike, back in the day?
I do not. I
Okay.
was totally after the fact. I mean, and who knows how long it was after the actual incident that it started coming out in the news. I mean,
again, I'm ignorant to this aspect of it. At least, did it make the news at all, or was it hushed up?
yeah, that's the thing. I have no idea.
I mean, it's definitely come to the
the
forefront.
BBC covered it, but I didn't get
Very true. Very true.
when they did. If it was,
I believe it was a couple years after the event.
that's what I'm thinking too.
We'll get into the details shortly here, but yeah, Mike kind of laid the basis out there for us. Several students. You said 62. I've seen reports where it could have been up to 100 students
Really?
who witnessed this. The 100 might have been like the total amount of students outside at the time, and
Sure.
maybe 62 of them actually witnessed it. I guess I'm not sure about the specifics there.
Yeah.
But it's one particularly intriguing aspect of this is the children's accounts of what they saw then compared to their accounts as to what they saw now. I mean, more recent retellings of their accounts, and there's no change. There's no wavering
Right.
in what they saw.
And they reported early on when they had witnessed this that these weren't like your typical gray aliens, but they had big eyes.
Mm-hmm. Weren't they wearing black suits?
Yeah. Actually, what I had in my research, I have actually seen where the kid said that it looked somewhat like Michael Jackson.
Oh, no kidding.
No kidding.
Well, all jokes aside, Michael Jackson
Right.
was the biggest star on the planet at that time.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's really interesting.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming they might be talking about maybe and don't take this the wrong way, anybody, or maybe they're talking about, the large, darker eyes and like maybe the lighter colored skin, perhaps. I don't know.
It could be dressed the way they were. The
black outfit.
right, exactly.
Well, let's dive into some of the details here, Mike. As we mentioned before, this occurred in 1994 on September 16th,
Right.
in Zuwa, Zimbabwe. The school is the Aerial School, as Mike mentioned, which housed students between 6 and 12 years old. And 62 of these students outside, as Mike said during recess, claimed that while outside, they saw one or more
Right. Or more. Right.
silvery, kind of reflective, shiny crafts. The classic UFO description, I suppose, claimed to have seen these descend down from the sky and landing in a field right next to their school. Now, again, one or possibly more creatures then, I guess, exited the craft, dressed all in black. The children were like mesmerized. Reports are that some of the children were within like arm's length of these creatures.
Right.
They got that close, whatever they may be. Creatures might be a poor term. And, Mike, they claimed they began getting messages from these beings telepathically. Now, what were these messages about? Mike, would you care to take that? Uh-oh. No, Mike's frozen.
if there's a fly in your soup, don't eat it.
Okay, that's exactly what they said, boys and girls. Well, without any further ado,
I don't have that information in.
well, basically
in front of me.
basically what it was, Mike. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to put you on the spot there, but thank God
Yeah,
your screen
made me look stupid.
Well, no, your screen did literally freeze up there for a second too. So I was like, what the hell? God damn it. We'll get into some of the specific quotes from the children shortly. But basically, the overriding message that they received from these beings was that technology is bad. The way that we're utilizing technology, the way that we are going, the way the Earth is heading right now, the way that we are treating the Earth is bad. It was almost as if a warning, like we are going in the wrong direction. We are destroying our planet. You need to change your ways.
And that's actually a common message with a lot of abductees over the years, all over the world.
Very true. Very true.
It really is. Some abductees say they've been taken aboard a ship, and they have been shown the future of what we're on our way to have happen.
Right. Yeah. What our
if we don't change.
What we're destined to become if we don't improve our ways.
Right. Now, and also I was going to say that when this happened at the school, there was also sightings in other parts of the country, like South Africa and other areas where they had seen like a shiny flying disc or whatever, and lights in the sky.
Like days before this mass sighting, there had been reports of essentially what we would call UFOs,
right,
leading up to this landing, this incredible happening here. Now with these messages, Mike, that these children were allegedly receiving, one would interpret that and assume that these beings are here in a positive light, correct?
Right. Very benign.
And then they're
helpful.
They are trying to guide us. Totally goes against a lot of the terror-stricken tales, terror-stricken UFO/alien related tales. The cattle mutilations. The as you mentioned, Mike, the alien abductions, where the abductees are just traumatized for life, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to wonder, which is it? I mean, or are there several alien species visiting us, and do they have different agendas?
That's absolutely real. That is the truth right there. I believe that there are. Well, I know there are, from my research and what I've read about, there are many different species, and some of them do have their own agenda, whether it's benign or not.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's several different situations out there with the.
Of course.
Yeah.
We would have to assume that. I mean, we've talked about this on the podcast several times. Everything from hybrid, breeding purposes, for selfish purposes for their species to in order to enable them to continue existing. They're utilizing us, to what we're talking about right now, where they're warning us that we need to change our ways, or we're going to destroy all that we have left. So, hey, I mean, every human being on this planet is different, so why wouldn't every species of alien in the universe be different?
Right. But the thing is about certain species, which is kind of a benefit, is they give free colonoscopies.
Oh, Lord.
You don't have to pay for them. Don't have to have any insurance.
I could tell Mike was.
They just do it.
I was thinking, Mike. I could tell Mike was trying to think of something. He didn't fool me with that poker face that you had there.
Yeah, you're catching on.
Every now and then I catch on, but most of the time I don't. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Right away, Mike. Again, we're going to dive into some details here, but let's just throw out the possibility that a lot of the pseudo skeptics out there have, that this is simply a case of mass hysteria, that one person flipped out, therefore it affected the next person next to him or her, and therefore it just spread like a horrible contagious whatever you want to call it.
But what would that have been that set off a person, and then mass hysteria that followed that? I mean, it would have been quite an event. I mean, it's not like some kid threw a paper airplane and they went from that to oh my God, there's a UFO landing and there's people or creatures with black suits coming out.
Oh, are you okay?
You know, I mean,
sorry,
yeah.
Mike looked like he was lurching towards his left. I don't know what the hell happened to him there, but that was interesting.
But you know what I mean? I mean, it's like, I just can't picture a mass hysteria coming from this when everything that they reported was so specific. The drawings that the kids made, were so specific. The interviews that the kids were in during the investigation, too specific, and that's too.
And you know what? They cannot act that. If you ever watch those videos, or you read their accounts, you look at either original video recorded conversations or later on down the road conversations that these witnesses had. They're not acting, Mike. If they're acting, they should be in Hollywood making millions of dollars.
Yep. Absolutely.
I mean, it's legit, real response. That's how I interpreted it.
Right.
I don't. Maybe they are all actors. And again, as we throw out there in any number of odd cases, Mike, from cryptid sightings to what have you, what have these kids gained if they're all involved in this mass hoax?
Yeah. It's not like they gathered in the corner of the schoolyard and planned this out. There's just no way. And plus the traumatization that went on for years with these kids.
Yeah.
I mean, they were interviewed as adults later on.
Yeah.
And they still, the same story, the same emotion, I mean, it was just like they were reliving it again as they were telling it.
And we should make clear that not all of the children and not all of the witnesses were traumatized. A lot of them had very positive vibes from it.
Absolutely.
And so we have to make that clear that they weren't all, reliving this horrible event in their mind's eye for the rest of their days. And as Mike mentioned, there were several UFO sightings leading up to this mass sighting with the supposed landing of these crafts. But there's also been reports, Mike. There had been reports of giant bright fireballs passing through the sky the prior evenings.
Yeah,
leading up to
I get that after a hard evening of exercise, and
so that was you then. So that you're
strong jogging.
Okay, so Mike's behind that one. So strong. Oh, Lord.
Ride the exercise bike too long.
Okay. All right. So
time for Tenactin.
Nope. Those meteorites or comets, that was Mike's fault. Those were all expunged from his back end. Now, some skeptics claim that these fireballs had been the re-entry of the Zenit 2 rocket from the Cosmos 2290 satellite launch. I wouldn't know either way. I'm reading that right now, and they're saying that was just the broke up booster returning through the atmosphere and burning up, obviously. But how do we know that? That's pretty coincidental.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wouldn't you say?
Mm-hmm.
Some UFO researchers also recorded other alien sightings around this time, including, Mike, a daylight sighting by a young boy and his mother of a report of aliens being on a road beside a trucker. That's quite intriguing. Are they sure they saw an alien on side the road?
With a trucker, they were probably lot lizards.
Hey, Mike said it, not me.
I'm kidding.
Of course you are. So the sightings at the area school occurred around 10 a.m. in the morning on September 16th, 1994, and when the children were outside on the mid-morning break / recess. The adult faculty at the school were all inside having a meeting, And this entire occurrence lasted around a total of 15 minutes. When the children came back inside to return to class, they excitedly were telling the teachers what they had seen, but as we mentioned, were automatically dismissed as to what they're now. They poo-pooed.
Pretty much
everything
told
they'd
the
said.
kids to shut up.
But many of those parents, of the children returned home, told their parents, and many of the same parents came to the school the next day to discuss what had happened, as Mike had mentioned earlier. It was reported on ZBC radio. Interesting. So it did get a little bit of news coverage. And Cynthia Hind, UFO researcher Cynthia Hind, visited the school the next day. She interviewed the children, asked them to draw pictures of what they had seen. She reported that the children all told her the same story. The BBC's correspondent to Zimbabwe, Tim Leach, visited the school on September 19th to film interviews with the pupils, staff, and Cynthia Hind. After investigating this incident, Tim Leach claimed, "I could handle war zones, but I could not handle this." That's very interesting. Now, this is where we finally come to Mr. John Mack, who was professor at Harvard University, professor of psychiatry. And he visited the school to do his own interview series with the witnesses. Says, I am going to read some of this stuff. Throughout the 90s, it says here that Mack had investigated UFO sightings, had a particular interest in alien abduction phenomena, 1994, the dean of Harvard Medical School, a Mr. Daniel Hosteson, appointed a committee of peers to confidentially review Mack's clinical care and clinical investigation of the people who had shared their alien encounters with him. Yada, yada, yada. No one really cares about that information. So, some of these details, Mike. Now, according to interviews with Cynthia Hind, Tim Leach, and Mack, 62 children, as we mentioned, between 6 and 12, claim to have seen at least one UFO. Some claim to have seen more. But not all of the children at the school claimed that they actually experienced a sighting. So that might have been where I had heard like there was up to 100 students in the area at the time.
Right.
So maybe that's where I heard that. Basic details were consistent. One or more silver objects, usually described as discs, descending from the sky, floating down in the field of brush and small trees just outside the school property. Then between 1 and 4 creatures with big eyes, dressed all in black, exited the craft and approached the children. At this point, many of the children ran, but some, mostly the older pupils, stayed and watched as these aliens approached, or creatures, whatever you want to call them. And according to Mack's interviews, the creatures then telepathically communicated to the children environmental messages, as we mentioned already. One student in particular, a 5th grader, tells how he was, quote unquote, warned about something that's going to happen and that pollution must not be. An 11-year-old girl told Mack, "I think they want people to know that we're actually making harm on the world and we must not get too technologed." I'm not sure what she was trying to say there, but basically not get too advanced in technology. That's exactly what she was trying to say. One child said that he was told that the world would end because we were simply not taking care of the planet. Not all of them had believed they'd seen extraterrestrials, though, Mike. One of the skeptics actually told UFO researcher Hind that some of the black children thought that the short little beings were Tikoloshis, creatures of Shona and Ndebele folklore. Have you ever heard of Tikoloshis, Mike?
Well, they're among the family of the Topogigio clan.
I think you're right. Short description of Tikoloshi: they are dwarf-like water sprites in folklore. So,
well, maybe
essentially
that's just how they could interpret what they were seeing.
That's what I was saying, because that's what some of the skeptics were simply saying, that they didn't see an alien. They saw something that was they couldn't quite explain, and due to their cultural upbringing and their belief in folklore, they simply
that's the only way they could interpret what they were seeing and how they could explain it.
So why, Mike, in your opinion, I don't want to read any more boring details. let's get into our opinions about this and our takes on it. Why would alien crafts pick out schoolyards for a landing site? And what's the first thing that pops into your mind there when I throw that question towards you?
Well, it's they're children. They have more of an open mind to accept the message that they were taking, and they could grow up with the message that they gave and possibly do something about it. Do something with that message.
They're more malleable. They're younger, more malleable minds that
Right.
they're trying to basically catch them when they still can and inform them when they're still young. Okay, I like that. I like that idea. Do these alien species, do they feel more at ease landing at what would be an apparently harmless and innocuous, as you said, Mike, a benign landing site? Do they feel like there's no risk for them to land?
I don't know.
There?
I don't know if that would matter to them, but it would be a more benign setting for them.
Mm-hmm.
They would have that advantage of, just children being less of a threat.
Less of a threat, definitely.
Right. They could maybe make sure that they get the message the way it was meant to be given in their minds. I mean, like you were saying, that more malleable
right
mindset.
And perhaps, and this might sound silly, perhaps telepathic messages are easier to send and receive to the younger minds than it would be to let's say someone like me, an older
right
skeptical, blocked mind, who's just looking at everything like, what the hell is this guy trying to tell to me? I'm not going to listen to him. I'm not going to bother giving him a chance. Well,
their minds are less cluttered. I mean, it's like when you're a child and you believe in Santa Claus. You believe in that until you grow up and you're told that that doesn't exist.
Right.
It's like, children believe in the supernatural, even if they don't understand what it is. They believe in it if they see it and experience it, because they haven't been told yet that, oh, no, that's not real. That can't be real. That's, just, you can't believe in things like that.
Now, these, like I said, this isn't an isolated occurrence. It has happened all over the world. One that pops into my mind is the Westall UFO sighting in Australia back in the day. I think in the 1960s or something like that, I believe. 1966. The Westall UFO sighting, mass sighting. Without getting into details about that, very similar, but there are stories of Polaroid cameras being on hand and taking photos of what they saw, Mike, and those very same Polaroid cameras being confiscated immediately by, no one really knows, some form of authority.
Yes.
It's a claim. Did that really happen in the first place? And if it did people take photos? And did people really truly confiscate their Polaroids from them?
Why not? That's the way the government would work.
Yeah.
Keep it a secret. We will take any evidence that would,
Yeah.
That's the way it is.
That's the way it is. Mike, we have a lot to dive into here before we dive into our one last take. We got a good one last take lined up, by the way, boys and girls.
Yeah.
I can't wait to hear Mike's thoughts on this.
Yeah, I have thoughts on it.
We're going to be talking about the Redwoods Bigfoot footage. We'll let you know what it's all about if you aren't familiar. It's going to make for a great one last take. Mike, let's take a brief timeout. I'm hearing some ruckus out in the living room. I want to make sure all my kids are still alive. So, without any further ado, boys and girls, do not go anywhere. We shall be all right. Back. Okay, we have returned from yet another time traveling excursion. What I miss out there? I usually say from successful, from yet another successful time traveling excursion. I swear to God, I'm losing my mind, Mike. I'm like forgetting my catchphrases.
Yeah, you don't want to do that.
That's terrible. Catchphrases.
Yeah.
Slap
You don't
myself.
have very many good ones, so
No,
you
I don't.
better save the ones that you got.
I don't have any. What are you talking about? Now, this case, Mike, the Rua UFO incident quickly became one of the most famous UFO cases, particularly in Africa. It became one of the most particular UFO cases ever. And, it continues to be so this day. Ufologists continue to cite the case as providing compelling evidence of extraterrestrial visits to Earth. However, Mike, skeptics have, as I mentioned earlier, they dismiss them for any number of reasons, including one that is simply a case of mass hysteria or perhaps even a mass prank. So
Yeah.
I'd like to know how that mass prank was pulled off with these wonderful children actors.
Yeah.
We have to do both sides of the coin here, Mike.
Sure.
Let's go on the skeptical point of view. Some of the arguments from the skeptics. One in particular here I'm going to quote. Well, I'm not necessarily going to quote, but I'm going to focus on a Mr. Brian Dunning. And Brian Dunning on his 2020 Skeptoid podcast.
What?
Skeptoid.
Okay. Skeptoid.
I like the name Skeptoid. That's kind of
Oh, sure.
in his podcast, he noted that some children in the school claimed that they had not seen anything unusual that day, which we've said already. I mean,
Right.
I mean, it could have been any number of people. It could have been over 100 students total, and not all of them saw something. That doesn't mean it didn't happen.
Right.
He also challenged the often repeated claim that as rural school children in Zimbabwe, these witnesses would not have had exposure to modern media and so would not have been familiar with the concept of UFOs and alien visitors. So he challenged that idea that where would they think of this idea of how would they think of alien visitors? They're in rural Zimbabwe. There's no way they would have even an inkling of what they're talking about. That wouldn't have been suggested to them prior. And he's challenging that. He's saying that, yes, they could have very well been exposed to the idea of aliens, and so therefore they're all part of this massive prank / hoax or whatever you want to call it. I don't really buy that one very well there, Mr. Brian Dunning.
Well,
I'm sorry,
at that time, there wasn't a whole lot of internet that they could be getting this
hell
off
no.
of either.
Are you kidding me? No,
at all. So,
it is especially in rural Zimbabwe. I mean,
yeah.
Mr. Dunning also criticized the interview techniques of researchers Hind and Mack, interviewers. He says that Hind interviewed the children in groups of 4 to 6, with every other child allowed to listen, and so their stories were thus cross-contaminated. That's what he claims. He says that every child heard what the prior interviewee was saying, and so therefore kind of already had it instilled in his or her memory, his or her mind, as to what to say. It's kind of pre-programmed into their brains, I should say, from listening to prior interviews. He says that Mack only interviewed the children 2 months after the alleged sighting, and goes on to say that Mack, a known environmentalist, quote-unquote, prompted and suggested the telepathic communication angle, the pro-environmentalism angle, simply to further his needs, essentially. So that's
and how can he throw this out without any? He wasn't there.
I know.
Did he talk to any of these kids? Did he talk to the interviewers, or is he just going on his skeptoidism?
I love it. The Skeptoid podcast. I mean, hey, it's absolutely his right to throw those ideas out there.
Absolutely.
As well. Well, Mike, let's no pun intended here. Speaking of fireballs earlier, let's fireball it back and forth here. Let's wrap it up, because we do want to dive into the Bigfoot Redwoods footage.
Right.
It's out there. You guys want to do a deep dive into this story? It is out there.
There's plenty of information there.
Tons of stuff. And again, I feel bad for being ignorant towards it up till this week. I think it was Monday that Mike sent this idea, not this idea, but that text to me. And I'm like, holy shit, I had never heard of this. So Hopefully I'm not the only one, especially.
Oh, I'm sure not.
Hopefully I'm
yeah.
not the only one who hosts a paranormal podcast who wasn't aware of that. But utterly fascinating. Again, though, you listen to these interviews, Mike. The most compelling argument, the most compelling argument for me to support this as being legit is the testimony of the students and how it has not changed from when they were
Right.
young kids to when they are adults. And they are all, if they're all liars and actors, they are all Academy Award worthy, because it's so natural and so, you can just hear it in their voices. You can see it in their faces.
Yeah.
They're telling the truth. What they saw, you know.
If it didn't happen, they are total, Ben Affleck's and
Ben
Jennifer
Affleck's.
Garner,
hell?
that's just, the thing,
Could you at least say like De Niro or Denzel or or Morgan Freeman? I mean, put out good actors, and you throw out Ben Affleck. All righty.
They are the Ben Afflecks of Zimbabwe.
And no offense to Ben Affleck fans out there.
Oh, no,
He's a very fine actor himself. So,
He's a goddamn good-looking man.
well, there you go. Yeah, fine. That's why you brought him up. I understand.
No, I have no attraction to him whatsoever.
So do you? I'm glad you clarified that now in the paranormally zone. So that's it.
Yeah.
That's interesting. That's how I'm going to promote the show. The new episode. Mike is not attracted to Ben Affleck. That will be the headline. Well, Mike, I can guess how you feel about this, but let's just cut to the chase. Is this legit to you?
To me, it is very legit. I think there are things that we don't know about the whole situation. We haven't heard the whole story. We've heard a lot of it, but I think it could be you could take a deeper dive into it, and I think that the children at this point should be interviewed again.
Why not? Yeah, absolutely.
At this point, further past the second time they were interviewed as adults, and see what happens. It's like Rendlesham Forest in England at Bentwaters. You got such a little bit of information, and then over the years, so much has come out about that story, to where it's just exploded. I think the same thing could happen with this.
Yeah, one would think that that's a possibility for sure. And again, what was the agenda? What was the meaning? I mean, we've covered the potential meaning, I suppose. Hopefully it was a pro-environmentalist message.
Right.
It was basically a message to warn us to watch out where we're going. Why did they pick out a schoolyard? Why did they choose children to talk to? I mean, we've talked about all of that, and we have our own notions, our own ideas. Will it ever be answered? No, it will never be answered.
No.
There'll never be a clear-cut answer. But
there are still adult experiencers of this as children that aren't finished with it and probably still have questions.
Yeah. So, Mike, you're a believer that this actually happened. I would definitely. I'm leaning towards it being legit. Absolutely, no doubt. Myself. Well, I'll just say it. I believe that it happened.
Right.
I'm repeating myself, but man, those kids, their accounts, their retelling of the accounts, it's too compelling to dismiss. I don't think they were all involved in a giant mass prank. I don't think it was mass hysteria. Something happened. They saw something, and they were moved by it.
Yeah. Right. And I think that the agenda was towards children so they could grow up with this message.
Great
and
point.
maybe do something with it as they became adults and moved into their certain careers that they were going to have. It might have influenced what they did as adults, or what kind of careers they chose to maybe be more of an environmentalist.
Yeah. Oh, very good point, Mike. I love that. Thank you for bringing that up. That's absolutely a legit possibility.
Yeah.
So,
and I like the idea that there's a schoolyard full of children that saw a bunch of Michael Jacksons coming out of a flying saucer.
Were they moonwalking? Were they moonwalking
Yeah.
down the ramp? That would have been a sight to see. I would think, but
Yeah.
it's intriguing, man. At the very least, it's intriguing, and I think we both have come to an agreement that it happened. So
Something happened. Something legitimate happened, and there's always going to be some questions about it.
yeah, oh, absolutely.
You know, there's
no
always
doubt.
going to be questions from us and people like us about what happened, but the people and the kids that experienced it, hopefully they just don't have questions and they just go on with what was meant to happen and where they're supposed to go with it.
Mm-hmm. Nope, I agree, Mike, 100%. So moving on, is it time for one last take? We're at 50 minutes right now, so let's make it a good one last take. Okay.
Okay, a good one. Last
Well,
take.
they're always good, and as listeners to the Paranormally Zone have come to realize, this is my favorite part of the show. Not that I love all of it, I do. But
yeah, do you like it because you came up with the idea and it's
shush your mouth. That is
it's
not
in
it
your
right now.
ego-filled head that look at what I can do.
Oh, thanks, Mike. I appreciate that. That is not the case at all. Yeah, big
No, it's
jerk.
not. It's not.
No, but I enjoy it because it's really literally off the cuff, and we're wasting your time with our opinions, our very strong opinions. Well, hopefully we're not wasting your time on famous/infamous/ ultra fascinating, ultra weird, ultra whatever you want to call them, paranormal, cryptid, alien encounters, what have you. We've done one last take on the alien autopsy. We've done one last take on the Gimlin, the Patterson Gimlin Bigfoot footage, any number of things, anywhere down the line. Tonight, no exception. The Redwoods Bigfoot footage. Now, Mike, I love how he's giggling. Why are you giggling? Why are you giggling already?
I don't know. There's just so many things that pop up when you do a Google search on it.
Well, there is, and I hope that was kind of a bad pun that you said pop up, considering some of the video, some of the parts of the video.
Yeah.
For those who aren't familiar, I'll be very, very brief here. I'm just going to go over my notes here. My professional notes. See them right here, Mike?
I see it and I hear it.
Now, this footage was recorded back in 1995. It was originally labeled the Playmate footage because it was recorded by a film crew out in the woods filming a segment for a Playboy special with Playmate Anna Marie Goddard back in 1995. This video in question was recorded by a Mr. Craig Miller, who was a part of the crew. He pulled out his Hi8 camcorder. They were all driving back home in their RV after a day of filming, whatever they were filming,
Filming naked women, a woman naked.
Yes, out in the woods. So there's already like that, the, I don't want to say nefarious because that's too strong of a word, but it just adds ammo to the skeptics out there when considering where this footage came from. It was originally labeled, like I said, the Playmate footage. It was changed to the Miller footage, and then eventually settled on the Redwood Bigfoot footage, suggested by none other than Mr. Jeff Meldrum. So, because he knew that this case would never be taken seriously with the title, The Playmate Bigfoot footage.
And before it became the Redwood footage, it was the Woody footage.
Good God.
Patrick's face right now. I wish you could see it.
Okay.
So
That's fine. That's fine. So, hold on. Mike has to fart. There, sorry.
Hey, you just Oh man.
That was live. That was not a button bar at all by any means. So
All right.
go
Anyway.
check out our older episodes for that inside joke. Now,
I hope I made somebody laugh out there somewhere with that little bit of pun that I put out.
Now, the thing is, again, Dr. Jeff Meldrum, after this footage was made public and not so public in a lot of ways, like I said, he was the one who suggested changing the name so it wouldn't always be automatically dismissed and automatically ridiculed because of considering
Jeff Meldrum, who was an upcoming guest on our show.
Oh, good Lord. Wouldn't that be awesome? That'd be awesome.
Wouldn't it be?
I'm working on it, man. I'm working on it. So don't jinx it by saying something like that. But
I know.
This was filmed in Del Norte County in California, like I said, back in 1995. Long story short, the crew was returning home, as I said. Excuse me. And when you play the video that actually has audio to it, the original audio / video footage, you can tell that the group is having a good time. And yes, they are drinking adult beverages. They're having they're coming back home. They decide to turn off into a back, kind of not necessarily an inaccessible back road, but they had their reasons behind
minimum maintenance road to at least.
Essentially, that's a good way of putting it, Mike. It essentially was a minimum maintenance road.
Not plowed in the wintertime.
Thank God it wasn't in the wintertime. It was dark, it was at night, and it was raining when this happened. Okay, and the description of this sightings, as per BigfootEncounters.com, go check it out. I'm going to fly through some of this right now. Again, the date was August 29th, 1995. The crew and the driver were utilizing their personal RV, recreational video. They were returning home.
Recreational
recreational vehicle. Sorry. They were returning.
Yeah, let's see some of that recreational video you got there.
That's a great one. Well, I think they were filming a recreational video. They were returning home, the TV film crew from Waterland Productions. They pulled off into the small side road so the passengers / crew could take a closer look at the majestic scenery, as it says. Okay,
giant redwoods.
And it admits here, the music was playing, the beers were going back and forth, and the ever-present video camera was running as they were having a good time relaxing after a long day / week's work. While they were parked, suddenly in the audio of the video, that sounded funny, the driver glimpses a shadowy movement at the periphery of his headlights, and he says, quote unquote, "Look," I'm sorry, I'm going to swear here, boys and girls. He says, "Look, it's a fucking bear," he shouts to his companions. Now, eager to catch it on video, they zoom in on the retreating whatever it is. Through the darkness, through the rain, they see what they thought was a giant, hairy, shaggy bear. It was walking upright, but they still thought it was a bear.
Yep, bears can do that.
They can. The arms swinging at its side, and then one of the passengers, probably feeling pretty good after a few adult beverages, he says, "Let's go get it!" He yells. The driver then accelerates, of course he did, toward the figure, and
get her,
they go get her. That's right. Yep.
Reminds me of the
Ghostbusters.
the library scene in Ghostbusters.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Yeah, well, I was talking. I couldn't hear you.
So after they yelled, "Let's go get it" and stuff, the figure in the video appears to glance back, but instead of seeing what they thought would be the protruding snout of a bear, they claim to have seen, and the video kind of sees it. Again, it's dark, it's grainy, it's difficult to see. They see a flat human-like face. You hear in the video, someone says, "That's not a bear. What is that?" Ask another passenger. The driver then brakes to an abrupt halt, and then without warning, this figure steps in front of the vehicle, crosses the road directly in front of them, and the headlight reveals what appears to be a hair-covered giant, nearly 10 or 8 feet tall. You hear someone yell, "Switch to full beam." Taken aback by this bright light shone upon it. The figure then appears to raise its arms defensively, moves with an unhurried, deliberate pace, looking back, pausing momentarily to look back. And then you hear another passenger say, "Oh my God, it's Sasquatch." The crew then takes on, they notice it's flat brow, it's sloping brow, it's flat nose, high cheekbones, well-muscled neck and shoulders.
It's a Neanderthal.
Now, if you haven't seen this footage, please go check it out. It is... Well, Mike, let's talk about it. Let's do... I gave a brief setup for that right there. Your thoughts, Mike, when you watch that video. And I've been looking forward to what your thoughts are on the Redwoods Bigfoot footage.
Well, it's so grainy, but then it was supposed to be raining at the time.
Yep, at night.
It's like not the best condition for filming clearly. It was at nighttime. But
a high 8
first
camcorder. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
My first impression, and I wrote it down in my notes after I saw it, in capital letters with 3 exclamation marks after it, I wrote, "Sucks."
Oh, sucks. Okay, so that was
but
your
it is
initial
interesting
reaction.
though.
Sure, it is.
I mean, but you have to look at it a few times to hang on.
Yep, Macy, the doggy Macy is getting excited because she knows she knows we're talking about Sasquatch, so she's getting extra excited.
She's been great all night. But anyway, I don't know. It's just so hard to see. But if you really look close and you watch it over and over and over again, it's I don't know if you're training your mind to see it or you actually see, the hulking figure,
which you do see. You do
see, right?
Now, it should be pointed out that Anna Marie Goddard and the entire crew still to this day adamantly say that this was not faked. It was not hoaxed. And they have definitely not gained, I wouldn't say, again, Mike, it might be a lame argument on our part, but we always say that. It's like, what have they truly gained other than ridicule?
Right.
What has anyone truly gained other than ridicule by coming forth with this when they know they're going to be lambasted with crap? Especially when it's obvious on the audio that they're partying, they're having a good time, they're drinking,
Right.
And so why would they feel comfortable with coming forth with this unless it was legit to them?
Sure.
So I take that into account every time when I see footage or hear about accounts such as this. Now, what's intriguing, Mike, going back to the Patterson-Gimlin film, what was the most obvious aspect about the Patterson-Gimlin film, other than it has yet to be debunked? I don't think it ever will be debunked, but it was an obvious female in the Patterson-Gimlin film. I hope you noticed this, Mike.
Well, it did. It had hairy, heavy hangers.
It did, but as far we just lost all of our female awesome listeners right now. I'm kidding.
Hey, I'm talking in the world of Bigfoot. I'm not talking human.
I know you are. I'm kidding. Now, what adds to a lot of the snickering aspects of the Redwoods Bigfoot footage as well, Mike, especially when considering that it's a Playboy centerfold shoot or video shoot,
which should be besides the point.
It should, absolutely. It's irrelevant. It really is irrelevant.
Absolutely.
But I'm assuming you noticed it, Mike. At the very beginning of the footage, what appears to be a very, how can I say this delicately? Well, it was obviously a male. Let's put it that way. It was a supposed male, whatever it was.
They saw a hairy, heavy hanger.
Well, let's put it this way. They said that they saw, and it's on the video. It's reflective, for one thing, or shiny, I should say, maybe. And it's let's say at the base, the base was obviously covered in hair still, but the shiny phallic-like, well, let's just say it, Mike. It's a Bigfoot dong, okay? That's what's at the beginning of the footage.
How could you see that? And it was so grainy. And
You must not have seen the same video that I've been watching, man, because what I watch, it's actually not that. I mean, it is dark, it is grainy, but there's a couple stills that are pretty darn clear. You watch the enhanced footage of it, it's like, what am I seeing?
I watched the enhanced video of it.
Did you watch? So you watched it when it was the last shot of it was walking up the hill when you see its heel lifting up off the ground, but yet the front of its foot was still on the ground. But you see the bare-skinned heel lifting up off of the ground.
That wasn't his heel; it was his penis dragging on the.
Wow, that thing grew about 10 feet from the beginning of the video to the end of the video.
Well, what's the shiny?
It's the Bigfoot dong. It's the shiny Bigfoot dong.
Why is it shiny?
Mike?
It's a shiny, glistening penis.
The idea?
I don't understand.
That is the new title for the episode, by the way. Shiny Bigfoot dong. I love it right there. I'm
going to have to do some more research. Not that I want to see a big, shiny Bigfoot dong, but I did not see that in what I watched.
No, it's. I don't know how you missed it.
I wasn't looking for it.
You don't have to look for it. You don't have to look for it. It's right there. That's what I'm saying. It's like, okay, because it's. I was going to say it sticks out, but that sounds terrible.
Well, he is in the woods.
He is in the woods. Well,
man.
some of the proponents of it, Mike, say that it is in a defensive mode where it feels threatened. Therefore, it's not necessarily aroused, but it feels like it has to show them that he is the dominant figure. Therefore, the shiny Bigfoot dong is
Watch
revealed.
for me. I
Watch
got
for
a
me.
big Woody. I got a big hairy Woody.
That's what I'm saying. That's some of the arguments for the proponents for it.
So it's showing an excited dominance, maybe.
That's what I'm saying. Yes, that's what some of the pro for this video. The pros
which is
for
something
this
that probably happens in the whole primate world with like chimps and
no, it does
things like that.
Absolutely, it does.
Yeah, it does. So,
and again, some of if what they captured on video is real, but it isn't a Bigfoot, a lot of people believe it to be simply a bear, like we said, Mike. It could be walking on its hind legs, which they are known to do. But the fact though, you need to go watch that again, Mike. The last shot is so intriguing, and it argues against it being a bear just because of how the foot, the movement, how the bear's feet don't look like that, and they don't work like that when they're walking up the hill, especially if they're walking on their two hind legs. It just
a bear doesn't have like that human gait to it, or
no, absolutely not.
When it's standing.
Now I will read. This is a quick quote from Jeff Meldrum, because Meldrum himself was intrigued enough by this footage that he investigated it. Okay.
Well, and I have great faith in his interpretation and what he
absolutely
would have to say about it.
And before I read his quote, it was shown by comparing the footage to when investigators returned to that area, and they did they compared the scale, they compared the size as to where the head should have been compared to where the distance from the people who were filming it, and they figured out that it was basically essentially this thing was at least 7 feet tall, possibly even 8 feet tall, just by it's like finding Bigfoot when they'd send Bobo out there and say, "Hey Bobo, go stand by the tree."
Exactly, yeah.
So that's basically what investigators did. But this is the quote. This is what Meldrum wrote in his paper. And he wrote here, it says, there are a number of anatomical features suggested on the video that are very intriguing. Head shape and position, and he writes, yes, genitalia, but he does put a question mark behind it. He says, genitalia, question mark, muscle definition and action, foot and ankle anatomy, and more. These observations alone are enough to cause me to give the video serious consideration. I have arranged for 2 independent enhancements of the video, giving particular scrutiny to the points I mentioned. There is a frame that should give some detail of facial features as well. We will have the results in the near future. I have also been at the site, personally interviewed one of the witnesses, and read the testimonies of the other. So far, nothing to suggest any lack of credibility to their account. So, there's that. Meldrum was very open-minded to it, and even after scoping the scene and talking to eyewitnesses, he said there's nothing there to suggest that this wasn't credible. So, there's that. Mike, one last take. It's time. It's time. I'll spare all the boring details. You guys can go find it. Find the story. Here, let me give you the site real quick. It's a great article. Oh, I read it already.
Yeah, I need to look at more footage of this.
I read that already. It's bigfootencounters.com/film/redwoodsfilm.
Okay.
Go check that out. And you can find a video there as well. You can find it on YouTube. Mike, one last take. The Bigfoot Redwoods footage. Your thoughts, my friend? As I
it's hard for me to make a complete, decisive ending to this because I need to see more.
Mm-hmm.
And
okay, what do you mean see more? See more what? See more butts? or are you talking about you want to see the same video more often?
Yeah, I don't think I was watching the right video.
No, you were
footage.
Oh my God! I swear to God, you were.
Well, I've got to look at it again because it said enhanced video.
Yeah, and I sent you that.
But I saw no dong. I saw no dong.
Well, you just gotta look closer for the shiny dong, man.
I'm not looking for giant hairy penises.
well, who doesn't? I mean, come on.
Oh man.
That would be perfect for a Paranormally Zone if you spent the last couple days watching the wrong video.
Yeah, no kidding.
But I'm certain that you did, though, Mike. I think you just missed it. I really think you missed. It's right away at the very beginning. No pun intended. It's like a flash.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's like doing, there it is, and then it's gone.
I don't know. Because actually the video that I was actually watching.
You know what, Mike? You know what we need to do? We have time here, Mike. Let's do a brief time traveling excursion. I'm going to share the screen with you, and I'm going to watch that with you.
Perfect. That's a great idea.
Should we do it while we are recording, or should we do it?
Absolutely.
While time traveling. What do you think?
No, let's do it while we're recording, so we can share.
Okay, let's do that. Let's time travel real quick. Hold on, boys and girls. I'm going to fire up that video. I'm going to share it with Mike, and we're going to.
Yeah, I don't think I'm watching the right video because.
Okay.
To me, the video that I watched was completely dongless. So All right,
I'm going to go find the giant hairy dong and show it to Mike. So.
All right.
Hold on, boys and girls. We shall be.
All right, hey Patrick, quit! I swear to God, you were just going for your zipper. Now, don't do that.
I'm not going for my zipper. Trust me. Damn it! All right, hold on, boys and girls. We shall be right back with Harry Bigfoot Dongs. Okay, we're back. I have the video pulled up here. We should be recording this for a Patreon episode, but
yeah,
that's fine and dandy. Okay, Mike, here it is. This is the enhanced Redwoods footage. Now I want you to keep an eye out for that shiny dong. Okay.
I don't like even the way that sounds.
I know it's terrible. It's terrible. And we're kidding everybody. I mean, this is it's potentially a very legit video recording, but without any further ado here, Mike, these are this is edited where they're repeating the same clips over and over. It's only 40 seconds long here, but I want you to take a good close look. You ready to go? Ready to go, Mike? Okay.
All right.
Here we go. There's no audio to this. Right there, Mike, that flapping thing. Right away. I need to point that out to you. Right there. Look down at the bottom left.
That flopping thing.
Flopping thing. You see that? You see that? Right there again. Wow. So
I could be a donkey for all I know.
So now, was this the footage you were watching?
It
originally?
is.
Okay, so you just missed it. I knew you didn't observe it. So
All right, let's see the schlong again. I just
hey,
don't understand
that
this.
is I need that as a soundbite. That is.
Okay, now that figure right there.
Let's see
is
the
very,
schlong
That's
again.
not a bear. That's very Sasquatch
Yep.
shaped.
Okay, let's continue this, and then I'll show you the schlong again. There's another soundbite right there. God damn it! There it is. There's a figure walking in front. Does that look
Right,
like a bear,
right.
Mike? Does that look like a bear on its hind legs? It looks like it has
that's
a giant.
more hominid.
It looks hominid. It has it, and there's the foot. That's what I'm talking about. This last clip here, where its heel is pulling up off of the ground. There, it just looks. It doesn't look like how a bear would be walking up a hill with how its feet.
Right.
Its foot is contorting.
Update the lighting in
Yep,
your home today
sorry about
during
that.
Menards
Well,
New
pause now. Damn it. There you go. Thank you for pausing 10 seconds late. So, your thoughts, Mike. Let's watch it again, though, okay? And then I want your thoughts. Here's the flopping dong. There it is. Woo! Sorry, we're being very immature, but how can you not? And there it is, very hominid, very large. You can see that's quite a few feet above the hood of the car. You can see that, above the headlights, moving very. Oh man, I don't want to say gingerly. And there's those feet walking up the hill.
Well, of course it's gently. You didn't want to step on his penis.
Step on his shiny hairy dong. Well, do you want to watch it one more time? Or are you good? Are you good?
No, I've seen enough
You've seen-
Bigfoot
Say
balls and penis and
Say
whatever
it,
else.
Say it. All right. Hold on.
As far as I know, that could be a worm on a fishing hook.
Oh, Jesus. Okay,
I don't.
Well,
I mean.
well, okay. Now, after we've clarified that you have seen this video. This was the video you had watched earlier. You had just missed the supposed Sasquatch genitalia.
Not looking for it.
So now let's dive into Mike. Our thoughts. One last take, buddy. Let's go. Your thoughts on the supposed Bigfoot footage, the Redwood Bigfoot footage.
Well, it's got to be real because nobody's gonna, make a costume to wear at nighttime in front of a car and think at the last minute, I'm gonna add a dick onto this costume.
In the rain.
Yeah, and maybe that's why it's shiny because it's wet.
Oh God.
From the rain.
So in all seriousness, Mike, in all seriousness, a lot of the skeptics immediately dismiss this footage simply because of what's going on here. As we've said already, it's a Playboy set. They're filming a skit. I don't know what they're doing. Something for an adult magazine, and the people involved, they're having a good time. It's already kind of a sexually charged atmosphere just because of what they're doing, and then of course this whatever it is,
so
has this
wet
schlong flopping in the rain. And so
maybe this Bigfoot was actually watching the them doing their filming and their it's like it.
Okay,
I don't know.
We don't know, but as we mentioned earlier, Mike, is it trying to say this with a straight face? Is it a defensive posture? Is it a
it's like a dominance thing.
It's an absolute dominance posturing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the only thing that I could come up with as a legitimate answer. All joking aside.
Yeah.
Either that or that's just the way it is. I mean,
now,
maybe
does it look fake to you in any way from what you have seen? Does it look like a guy in a suit?
No, absolutely not. Especially with the way that schlong is moving and flopping around. I mean,
Mike can't let go of the schlong.
I am seeing some legitimacy in it, and if I go with my gut feeling,
Mhm.
That's a real Bigfoot penis.
Oh Lord, man, this episode is filled with potential sound bites. I love it. So, but you buy it though. You buy it as potentially legit.
Well, with you and I going over this video footage together, that opens up a whole new meaning for me, because when I was watching this, all I could see was just grainy,
Sure.
garbage.
Sure, I get it. I get it.
So yeah,
Well, I'm glad that I could help a little bit.
yeah, you did. You showed me the way of the penis.
Damn it, Mike. Man, there's another sound bite right there. So since it's one last take, you buy it, or you are leaning towards. Okay, let's put it this way, Mike. 1 out of 10, where do you rank? From 1 being fake, 10 being legit. Where do you sit?
I'm gonna go with a very strong
6 inches.
No, that would have had to been like an 18 inch.
Yeah, it's a little bit bigger than 6.
I am gonna go with a strong 7 3/4.
Wow, 7 3/4 even. Almost
Yeah.
damn near an 8 from the Bigfoot Redwoods footage. See, Mike, and I've always played the role of skeptic on this show. I'm not playing the role. That's just,
No, you are the role.
yeah,
you are that.
That is,
Yeah.
and but
Which you are the very important part of that.
but it's a healthy skepticism, Mike. It's a healthy skepticism. I'm a believer,
Right.
but I'm also I'm very quick to dismiss shit that I go by my gut reactions. I go by my gut instinct, and I'm like, nope, that's fake. No, that's hogwash. Or I'm like, maybe this one, Mike. From the first time I've seen it, from years ago, seeing this thing, I have been intrigued by it. I've been fascinated by it. I think it's legit. It just looks. I'm going to say it flat out. I think it's real. I'm going to give it a 10 out of a 10.
Oh, sure.
And that's coming from me. I'm the
That's
skeptic.
very
Hello
good.
over here. It just, to me, it rings reality.
Yeah.
And it bugs me that it is so easily dismissed, just considering that the atmosphere, the party and the beer drinking, the Playboy
Right.
shoot. Why? I get it to some degree, but why does that lessen the chance of it being
Oh,
of it being
absolutely. I
real?
totally agree with that. Yeah.
I mean, are you suggesting? I'm telling all the people who are dismissing out there that not one happy person who's had a few beers has not seen a real ghost, has not seen a real alien or UFO, has not seen a real Bigfoot. Just because you're enjoying life in any number of ways,
Yeah.
it's.
Well,
And
just think of
I'm not sitting there advocating getting hammered and going out in the woods and all that shit. I'm not saying
No.
that. I'm not supporting drinking beer. I'm not doing anything. You do what you do. But just because someone chooses a lifestyle doesn't mean that what they saw wasn't real.
Right. It's like when you and I got the It's Debbie recording. We had a few
We were very
adult beverages before that happened,
100%.
and we didn't make that up,
No,
and we know that for a fact ourselves.
that's a great example.
Whether the listeners believe it or not, that's
Yep.
another thing. But
We wouldn't be capable
But
of
we
faking
know-
that. We definitely weren't back then capable of faking anything remotely similar to It's Debbie.
Yeah.
I mean, it is impossible. I'm blown away by
Right.
that flipping recording. I want to dismiss it somehow, Mike, but I can't because it's just,
you can't.
it just wasn't us.
That's right.
So I'm giving it, as odd as it may sound, a 10 out of a 10, man. And you're getting the 7 3/4.
I like that.
Yeah. Very good.
I'm going to give it. I'm just going to round up to an 8.
There you go. Perfect.
Which is that says a lot.
I think it does. Well, with that, Mike, let's put a bow on the show. Yeah, I suppose we're coming up. We need some time to do our Patreon episode. It's going to be a cool one. It's going to be a very unique topic.
It
but,
will be.
I'm looking forward to it. Any parting words, Mike, before we wrap up the show? Thank you so much, buddy, for doing this again, because I know that you didn't sleep at all last night and your back is giving you so many problems. but you're still forging forth, and you're doing your due diligence. You're doing your
Yeah, well,
you're doing what you're passionate about, and I appreciate it.
yeah. I can't go to work. I'm off work until whenever because I can't work. But God damn it, I'm still going to do a show.
And we appreciate it, Mike. So, well, thank you very much, everybody, for tuning in. This was obviously the Paranormally Zone, but you knew that already. And again, if you love the show, we guarantee you will enjoy our Patreon content. It's basically what you're hearing right now, both a lot more goodies thrown in there. I definitely think it's worth it. Give it a shot. We'd love to see you there. Mike, I can't thank you enough, my friend. Well, I guess without any further ado, what do our awesome listeners need to do?
Let's see. We have a choice of 1, 2, or 3, and I'm going to choose 2, which means a peace out.